Hello folks, it is Tuesday, which means it is time for some hobby rantage. Hopefully you're all having a very good day. I certainly am, but everybody's off today because it's Bank Holiday Monday here in the UK, but you know me, I just can't stay away from you. I'm just no good without you. So here I am with another 40k rant. This time it is going to be which game at the store generates the worst customers in your local hobby store. This is not just closed to staff members and people who work in stores like managers, although they are in here too. Other customers will also be having their say. I put this on the Discord and my Patreon, and of course on YouTube as a brief for you to have your say, for you to have a little talk about when in your local hobby store what game you think has the worst customers. We will have people from Age of Sigmar, Warhammer 40k, even Malifaux turns up I think in this video somewhere, and of course we have your old Pokemon cards, Magic the Gathering. All of these guys are going to turn up at some point. But we're going to be discussing each and every single one of these. There's 20 comments I want to read all in all. All of them have a little bit, you know, a little bit of a different take on this brief that we gave to you the other day. So, at your local hobby store, which games do you believe have the worst customers and fans? Controversial? Yeah. Funny? Yeah. Let's jump in. So, Tall Dwarf 6445 says, I feel kind of blessed to have two game stores near me, and they've been pretty chill places for me. When I lived in Anchorage though, the big store in the city had an issue with card game players in general. The stories I've heard, I tell you what, from the ones I remember, the Yu-Gi-Oh scene had issues with people stealing, and instead of banning or punishing people who stole, the one running the events shamed the people for even suggesting that because these inner city kids needed a place to play, they were allowed to steal. The guy was a decent guy with good intentions, but Yu-Gi-Oh sort of died out after the stealing got worse and worse. Yeah, this is a inner city American problem, I'm guessing. You know, again, you're in Alaska as well. That's way far away. But yeah, I think this is one of those things where you're allowed to steal under a certain age. It's a bit silly. Then one time, a My Little Pony card player cursed me because I said I didn't want to play the game. It was hilarious in hindsight, I guess. Surprisingly, from what I remembered, Warhammer players were the chillest guys. Now, that is the first and last time I think we'll be hearing that in this episode, but we'll see. You had your standard neckbeard here and there, but most of the guys were army bros looking for games to play whilst in Alaska. Ah, that is an Alaska thing, yes, okay, alright. And then RPG organised play like Adventure League had a few special cases of awkward people, but nothing too egregious. Okay, well thank you, Toldorf. Cheers, mate. Glenn M53 says, as someone said on a Hobby Nightmare the other day, there used to be Games Workshop stores, now they are Warhammer shops, and I've never been back since. I hate nothing more than pushy salesmen, friendly local stores, or 3D printer nowadays, or go home. All right, well, fair enough. That's not the brief, but that's fair enough. I get your opinion there. Ant-Man says the same thing, so we'll move on from that one. Twister6452 says, I'm a bit unhappy with the local 40k community overall. I heard rumours from my friends with whom I play OPR at the store often with, that the 40k players talk badly about one-page rules a lot, which I understand from their viewpoint in a lot of cases. I don't, right? I get this a lot too, right? I hear a lot of 40k people talking smack about OPR. It's almost as if there's a certain fear here, right? It's almost as if 40k fans look at OPR and go, oh no, we may lose all of our opponents, we may lose all of our players to a better game, you know? Just saying. Yeah, and that's my opinion, by the way. You can like 40k and you can say 40k is better for you than OPR, and I completely understand that, you know? I wouldn't disagree with that at all. I will disagree with the fact if you say to me, well, 40k is just a better game than OPR, I will take issue with that, because empirically, in my opinion, it's not, right? By the way, guys, I am really lucky today because it's Bank Holiday Monday. My missus is at home, so I get to have miso soup whilst I'm doing this instead of tea. This is awesome. The king of the soups. Let me just say that. The king of the soups. It's supposed to be really hot right now, and it's been really hot outside for the last few weeks, but it's now like 15 degrees, 15 degrees, very nice. and it's rainy and quite windy, so it's now time for some miso soup. It's awesome, man. Anyway, I often see this from 40k players in that they don't really like OPR. Most of the cool 40k bros I know don't mind OPR, or they like to try it every once in a while. But there is a certain snobbishness around OPR. There is. And I don't think we can climb down from that. There absolutely is. Alright. Yet it often apparently creates friction, mostly on the local Facebook group. I assume it has something to do with a cult of personality around the local 40k leader who really dislikes it. And sadly, there isn't much to do, even though our group reached out multiple times to them if we could collaborate or even do some events together, or show it to be to beginners who can't afford rules or want more accessible games than current 40k. Yeah, I don't get the dislike for one-page rules. I don't get that at all. Right? 40k's not going anywhere, dude. It just isn't. It's not going anywhere. You're fine. You're not going to get your toys taken off of you because people like OPR more than 40k. OPR is not going to take market share away from 40k. And if your local player group wants to play OPR, that says more about your 40k player group than it does about the game, in my opinion. Right? You could cater some of your games to Combat Patrol to get more people to play 40k without having a go at one-page rules. One-page rules isn't the problem. You are. To be fair. That is still okay, as it doesn't affect us having a fun time, just rolling dice and having a few beers, be it with Games Workshop managers or my friend Space Rats. They're really cool and Skaven-like, but in space. But recently, I've encountered myself something really impolite. When we had a smaller event, 2 kill team players from the next table approached one of our other players' table, looked at it and proudly proclaimed, "Oh, that's for people who are too slow and dumb to play kill team, we'll leave them alone." Sorry about the inaccurate translation, and returned to their table. Their kill team game proceeded to last the whole evening, whilst most of us had 2 or 3 games and a nice chat about lore of 40k afterwards. That is the microcosm right there, Twister. That is the microcosm, isn't it? Yeah, they come over to your table, they snidely make comments about you not getting 40k. Then they go back to their trimmed down 40k game, which is, kill team, which is ironically even more crusty and even more impenetrable than normal 40k. And they sit there all night, crunching away at that game, getting exhausted. You play 2 or 3 games with your mates, and then you have a beer afterwards. You tell me who's winning, man. You know? I really wanted to get up and confront them, but I'm too introverted and a bit intimidated by the local mainstream community as well. No need to confront them, man. Just let them get on with it. I've been told that I should do it next time, but I'm not the one for confrontations, really. And backlash from the intertwined Games Workshop systems communities here could really get on my nerves. I really don't like this for one of them who was apparently the leader of the local kill team community, and as I enjoy OPR Firefight a great lot these days, it makes me feel a bit unwell about our overall club and player base and where it is going. Okay. I can see that, man. Don't interact with these people. Don't go up to them and have a go at them. This is a game of toy soldiers. Alright? There's no need. This is a game of toy soldiers. You already have people at your local store who play OPR. That's a win in and of itself. Silently go about your business. Okay? Just go about your business. Silent truth sings more loudly than loud lies. I'm telling you now, right? Just silently get on with your business and have fun. Don't get involved in drama that you don't need to be involved in. This is a game of toy soldiers. You like OPR, they don't. If they want to be dicks about it, fine. Let them do it, man. You play with your friends and you just have a good time. Okay. Dirth Diabeto says, I feel rather blessed that at my local friendly game store that we haven't had any problem groups or nasty players of anything, really. However, at another shop I visit with less frequency on the other side of town, there is a group of Yu-Gi-Oh! Players that I almost called the police on. Wow, okay. I was playing a game of 40k shortly after Christmas and overheard some rather unpleasant and disgusting conversation from them. I don't want to get into too many details of what I heard, but suffice it to say, it sounded like a couple of them were into the younger generation, if you know what I'm saying. I mentioned something to the store owner, but I left that day and thankfully haven't seen them back since. Well, dude, if you've talked to the store owner and he's sorted that out, good for him. Yeah, that is a real pat on the back for that store. Name that store, man. I'd love to know where that is, because I'd like to give them a congratulations. They've obviously gone out of their way to stamp right down on that and get it out of there. The one good thing my own Games Workshop manager did when I was a staffer over there was we had one of these situations, and he sorted it out in like literally in an hour. It was done. Like, the guy was gone, the police had him, and that was it. Do you know what I mean? He absolutely was a hero that day, man. He was awesome. He was brilliant. And, you know, that was one of my hardest days as a Games Workshop staffer, and he made it really easy. You know, that's the biggest compliment I can give him. He made that situation really easy. Now, again, this is what I mean. Life is about plurals, dudes. Life is all about plurals. I did not like this manager. He did not like me. We did not get on, right? He was absolutely overbearing, and he was a piece of shit, right? I have to be honest about that. But at the same time, he handled this really well. And a lot of staff, a lot of managers at Games Workshop are well trained to deal with this. Like, they are really good. If there's one place I would leave my kid, you know, if I had to in a pinch, you know, I wouldn't want to. I look for every avenue. But if, say, like, you know, a really bad security situation happened in the city, you know, where I need her to be safe somewhere whilst I go and pull somebody out of a burning building or something, a Games Workshop is where I'd leave her. I'd take her to Games Workshop, say, listen, man, can I just leave her here to play with some models? I've got to go do this or that, you know what I mean? Life or death sort of thing. Can you please look after her? I would do that in a heartbeat, because I know how well trained they are. And I know how seriously they take it as well. You know what I mean? They are really good at having their eyes on a swivel and always knowing where the kids are in the store and making sure they're okay. So yeah, big pat on the back to those guys. Absolutely brilliant. Anyway, Mech Boss Boogie says, my local store went under a year and a half ago because of their worst customers. Ooh. All right, Mech Boss, let's dive in here. In the States, there's this thing called the Consumer Protection Act, and it does everything but that. It only protects the banks. Okay. So, what happened is somebody came into their online store and used a stolen credit card to purchase around $2,000 worth of Warhammer products and some other things. It was found out that the person whose card was used was refunded by the bank, but because it happened at all, the Consumer Protection Act kicks in and says the store must pay a fine per violation. Well, they decided it was per piece sold, and that the fine per piece would be $500. If you fight the case, they fine you further, and the fact that it happened at all is a permanent stain on your credit score. I forget the actual number that the fines reached in total, but I hear it was over $150,000. Wow. Dude, there's nothing worse than, like, having your livelihood ripped away by something you can't control. That is terrible. That's awful. I can't get behind that. That's ridiculous. After years of getting screwed over by people who came in, sell their magic cards to the store for store credit, take up space, and make it a miserable experience for other people while not putting any actual money in the till, and the owners refusing to do something about them when they've been banned from every other game store within an hour of that one, they didn't have the money to deal with the situation. Originally, they were going to shut down anyway, because they were only leasing the space and the lady who owned it was looking to sell it, but needed to do a bunch of work to it before she could do so. Then, they were going to rebrand, dump card games altogether because of the sweaty drug addicts who would come in and buy them out of Pokemon cards and then complain that they couldn't get event packs because the store couldn't have an event because they kept buying out all of their product, and the halfway house boys who would come in and take up the space. No, I'm not exaggerating. They were that bad and awful people at that. The plan after that was going to be a private club for tabletop wargamers. No online store, but then the fines rolled in. There's a lot more to it, like their relationship with the bar next door, and the fact that their sewer lines were shared and they had the absolute worst clientele who would routinely cause the sewer to back up, which would flood the store's basement. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'll let your imagination come up with the smell. I could regale you with such other tales, but I think this is enough to give you the gist. My god. My god. That's, dude, that puts all of my game store experience into perspective. It wasn't that bad, you know what I mean? Oh my days. That's, yeah. Frog Wizard says, wish I could add something, but I haven't had a true hobby nightmare. I'm still new to the hobby and haven't had a lot of chance to play games. Fair enough, man. Good for you. S. Pedno says, I have to thank my lucky stars that my current local game store so far has been very chill, because that's my place and doesn't sell any Yu-Gi-Oh cards or host events. What is it with Yu-Gi-Oh? Okay, Yu-Gi-Oh's taken an absolute pounding today, alright? This is for everybody, but I noticed in my first read of a few of these, Yu-Gi-Oh kept coming up. Is it that bad? Comment section, is it that bad? Or are we just, like, coming up against, a brick wall of ineptitude and, shithousery here? That isn't really the norm. Let me know. Comment section. Anyway, Yu-Gi-Oh! YGO for short, has started to gain more notoriety here in the States over recent years for having the worst of the stereotypical neckbeards, more so than Magic, D&D and Warhammer combined. Wow. That's a statement. Several stores have gone as far as to ban Yu-Gi-Oh! Because of brawls, theft, cheating, and the stench of body odour. Konami, the publisher, has even gone as far as to listing basic hygiene in its code of conduct for its players at sanctioned events. By God. Between what I've just listed and having an already dedicated card shop less than a mile down the road that hosts Yu-Gi-Oh!, I suspect that's why my local shop doesn't sell Yu-Gi-Oh! Anymore. It's definitely no skin off my back, if you catch my meaning. Dude, this is bad. This is really, really bad. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Of Mice and Dice says, number one, he's got two, which is great. Number one, Dungeons and Dragons Adventure League. They are so rude. They are very demanding and controlling of their space, and oddly enough, don't really want you people to play, even though that's the whole bloody point. I tried to join a game one time, and in addition to the side eyes and glares they gave me, they interrogated me before I even sat down. It was very awkward. They ignored me the entire time I played that one session with them, so I left and didn't come back. I'm sure this isn't common with Adventurers League, and the group at my store is an outlier. Okay, I will say this about D&D. Number one, it's currently dying a death anyway, so, you can sort of thank your lucky stars that's going away. But secondly, I've noticed this about a lot of progressive spaces, alright? A lot of these progressive spaces that preach inclusivity, the minute you try and join, the daggers come out, okay? It's weirdly games like 40k, for all of the people who say, hey, they're so unwelcoming, all of the people who are into inclusivity who say they're so unwelcoming, they're all man-children. No, mate, 40k is the most welcoming place you could ever have, dude. Everybody's wanted here. If you like what we like, if you like the grim, dark, far future, you like Space Marines, you like Tyranids, you like them fighting each other, you like Necrons, you like the entire aesthetic of 40k, so much so that you want to dive in and do some models with us, mate, you're more than welcome, and we don't give a rat's arse. We do not give a monkey's left fucking bollock. Whether you're black, white, you're Asian, whatever, whether you're gay, straight, whatever, doesn't bother us in the slightest, alright? Not at all. If you like Warhammer, you are welcome here. And I've never come across a place where that isn't true. And think about all the experience that I've had on this channel, right? And going to different hobby stores, working in the hobby. I've never come into a place where that hasn't been true. Okay? The only time when I've had hobby nightmares in the local hobby store that I worked in, right? We didn't do it in Games Workshop, obviously. But in the local hobby store I worked in, the only trouble we had with shit like this was Dungeons and Dragons groups. Whenever the Wednesday night D&D night would come around, it was only the guys who did D&D. Everybody else was ran off because they just weren't welcome. Especially if you were just a normal looking straight white dude, you weren't welcome, right? The daggers came out. And I find it very ironic that these so-called inclusive hobbies and inclusive spaces are the ones to exclude people because of how they look. If you're one of those people, go fuck yourself and get in the sea. Anyway, number 2, Magic the Gathering players. We seem to have way less hygiene and more of an attitude than the 40k players at the store I go to. The tabletop gaming groups at my store, 40k, Age of Sigmar, War Machine, Malifaux, have been very kind and welcoming, so I feel very lucky in that regard. Dude, I'm telling you, I'm not being biased here, because I don't play 40k anymore. But 40k groups, by and large, legends. I'm telling you, like, by and large, there are always outliers, but by and large, legends. It's awesome, right? Anyway, David Brick Productions says, well, hopefully your productions are going well, David. Local game store worker here. Magic the Gathering players are a bloody pain. We only stock a small collection of it, and they get annoyed when we don't have the whole store dedicated to it. Okay, that was a very short and sweet. Yeah. But yes, I that gets right to the point. This is something that a lot of card gamers will come across, right? I think a lot of card gamers will agree with me here. There are a lot of people in the card gaming space who seem to think that every hobby store needs to be card gaming. That's it, right? Even at my local ones, you get side-eye. You know, you're either you're in a back room or you get side-eye. Like, Just Play in my local store is an amazing store. Brilliant, cool place, really cool guys. And do you know what they've done? Because a load of their guys used to work at Games Workshop, so they love wargaming, they've dedicated an entire space upstairs to wargaming. So you've got your own space, right? There's a huge part of their store that is all wargaming, not just Games Workshop, across the board, right? Modeling, and gaming and wargaming. But they still have a really cool space downstairs for your card games and all that kind of stuff. So they really do hit all dimensions, okay? But you still get side-eye. When you're going with a model case, you get side-eye from card players. I dread to think what they're going to be like at Exile Fest. It's going to be hilarious. On that subject, before I forget, on that subject, let me just whack this up here. We do have Exile Fest coming up on June the 21st of this year, so under a month now. We're going to be doing a one-page rules Grimdark Future tournament at Just Play Games here in Liverpool. The tournament is full right now. We have 16 players, which is all we needed, really. But if you want to bring your army down on the day and just have some fun and maybe jump in if somebody doesn't turn up, or you want to have just a few friendly games with other people that aren't involved in the tournament, bring your army down. And even if you don't want to bring your army down, come down yourself for a pint or two with your friend Northern Exile. If you want to do that, then just send me an email at northernexileevents@gmail.com. That is northernexileevents@gmail.com with your name and contact number, just so I've got an idea, a loose idea of what kind of people are going to be turning up in terms of numbers and things. But yeah, we're going to be doing that next month, so make sure you're a part of it if you're around. So let's jump into our next one here. Silenced Burns says, 25 years ago, I definitely would have said 40k players, even though I was one. Yeah, well, I think that 25 years ago, card games were a thing, but they weren't really as big as they are now, right? We had Pokemon cards, sure, but there wasn't like a groundswell as there are now with multiple different games and multiple different disciplines, do you know what I mean? 40k was the hobby back then. Most independent hobby stores 25 years ago stocked 40k as their A1 thing, right? So I always say this is like a vertical slice of the hobby, right? So if you work in the hobby, you're getting a vertical slice of the hobby. You're seeing the entire hobby in your local area. Sometimes that's not for the best, okay? And I think 25 years ago, you know, of course there's more people in 40k being problems, because 40k was the hobby back then, you know what I mean? Nowadays, he says, the tables have turned. And it's without doubt that locust plague that is Magic the Gathering players. Again, even though I was and am one. Okay. I'm getting a lot... Do you know what I'm getting a lot of here that I'm not feeling too bad about? Is the guys who are calling out Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh! Are the guys who are playing Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh! Do you know what I'm saying? It's not as if we got 40k players here saying, they're the worst. Ugh. There's no tribalism here. These are people who are involved in those hobbies saying, yeah, they're the worst, man. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, they're the absolute worst. Anyway, Caveman Tactics says, frequent local game store customer here. As far as the worst, I would have to say the new round of Warhammer 40k players. Okay, bit of balance here. Let's jump in. So new 40k players, not old ones. That's kind of opposite to what we usually hear, right? It's normally the old greybeards who get a bad rep. Let's jump in. I have come across a lot of strange people, from the stereotype of the common neckbeard Space Wolves players to the blue-haired checkmark people with female marines looking for a rise out of people. Yeah, seen that as well. Though the most annoying thing is how, just because I'm a Templars player, I'm somehow every Eastern phobe in the book, so to speak. And these people love to remind me of that. Okay. Dude, don't go to that store. Alright, caveman. Do not go to that store. I very rarely give orders. I very, very rarely give orders. Do not go to that store. This is extreme. Like what you're saying here is very extreme. To the point that if this is happening in a hobby nightmare, people will probably say you're talking shit, right? But if this is happening to you, and listen, you took the time to write this in, and this is a large comment, so, dude, thank you very much for doing it. So I'm going to take you as face value, alright? I'm going to say this is happening to you. If this is happening to you at your local store, sack it off. No hobby is better than bad hobby. I say this all the time. Doesn't matter what kind of hobby you're doing, no hobby is better than bad hobby. Don't ruin your hobby time by exposing yourself to dickheads like this. Go elsewhere. Alright? Anyway. Let's carry on with what he said. It's incredibly annoying that whenever I set up a game with these types, I get called racist and xenophobic just because of the faction I play. That's the underlying stigma that seems to ride the coattails of the Black Templars. I can't help but laugh sometimes as I place my figures on the table and I get the usual, "Oh god, you're a Templars player. You should just play Ultramarines, at least they're tolerable." Dude, okay. There is a video coming on Saturday where I talk about 40k to the guys at Black Lodge Games, and I told them about how the Alpha Legion are now in the Mike Brooks novels, where it's like, you know, does the Imperium ever even deserve to exist if it treats its citizens this way? There should be a class. We should rise up against the higher classes. And the looks on their faces, we're on video, the looks on their faces, they just shake their head and go, what the actual, right? These dudes aren't really into the zeitgeist of 40k all the way through, do you know what I mean? And they're just like, what the actual fuck? You know, they know what 40k is. Have a look at it on Saturday. You'll see the reaction that we get. Anyway, I tell them after that, this battle group is rendering aid as apothecaries and surgeons to people. Just about every model of mine has apothecary red outline, white base, and a black cross that the Templars use on their pauldrons as an indicator that they are apothecaries, or at least assistants to apothecaries. I normally compliment their armies, as they usually have very unique armies, and I am genuine in my admiration for them. Heck, one player, despite his smell and girth, I'm overweight myself, but I exercise and walk every day, had a cool furry Space Wolves force that had the hands, feet and heads replaced with furry suit parts. Creepy, but cool. I disagree. Despite me saying that I liked his concept, he just said he wishes he could like mine, but you Templar players are all the same. Racist, homophobic, etc. Dude, alright, I'm going to say this. If this is actually occurring, again, I'm coming down on your side, caveman. This is actually occurring, pick up your models and walk off. The minute some prick shine thinks they can call me names like this when they've just met me, they're lucky they don't get a slap. I'm picking up my models and I'm going elsewhere. And I'm telling them to their face, you're a very unpleasant person. Okay? You know nothing about me. Maybe I just like knights and the colour black. You know absolutely nothing about me. I like John Blanche. I like 3rd edition aesthetic 40k. That's where I come from. If that makes me an ist or a phobe or in your eyes, go fuck yourself, you're a moron, and you don't deserve to share the same hobby table as me. So I'm leaving. Alright? You don't have to be as eloquent as what I just was there, because I'm under no pressure, by the way. I'm sitting here in my office on my own. Alright? I would probably stammer if I was doing this in real life, because I'd be so angry, right? But I'd still get it out. I'd get the message out, right? You saying that I'm those things without even knowing me, you're a dickhead, mate. And I don't want to play this game with you. I'd rather have no hobby than have a hobby where I have to play somebody like you. So I'm going to go elsewhere. Pick up your models and move on. You should not be playing people like this. Do not reward their bad behaviour with hobby. Simple. Playing the hobby is a privilege. People like this have lost that privilege. Leave. Remove that privilege. Say, no. Sorry. Playing the hobby, especially against a guy like me, who compliments your army and wants to have a good game with you is a privilege, not a right. Okay? You're a dickhead. Because you're a dickhead, I'm now removing that privilege. Goodbye. Gone. I'm gone. That's all you need to say. You sticking around, caveman, makes you the hobby nightmare in this kind of a thing, right? Anyway. So he will make sure to purge every last one of my models because, you know, racist, homophobic, that kind of thing. I couldn't help but respond to that with the fact that Space Wolves protect the weak and defenseless. My Templars will defend their grey cloaks and sororitas with extreme hostility while medical relief is being rendered. It's stuff like this that these new players say every time when I play them for the most part. For wanting to be inclusive, they are surprisingly exclusive to the point of creating an echo chamber that says the same things like a rotating non-player character. I've travelled literal tens of miles on my city's less than reliable bus and light rail system to try and find stores these people don't frequent, and I've come to the conclusion that I'll just stick to my local game group of 8 players at this point than not finding games out in the wild because it's like rolling a dice. It only ends in disappointment and irritation. Well, at least you come to your own conclusion there, and I think you're right. Yeah, you need to go and find your own people and stick to them because some people in this hobby don't deserve to be played with. Okay? But also, mate, I have no idea whether you're just coming up against the worst of the worst and you're truly this unlucky, or whether some of this is allegory or some of this is bullshit. Because you took the time to write in, I'm going to take your side and say, listen, this is true, right? But if this is true, do what I've told you to do. I'm serious. Because if you don't, it's your own fault. Okay? Moving on. Idanishidan? Idanishidan? Dude, did I just get that right? That's like a 15-letter word. Idanishidan? Dude, I'm amazing. He says, my local store is weird. 40k seems to be the game that everybody talks about. There is almost only Kill Team that is available to play on the go, but Age of Sigmar takes more than half of the store's shelves. So, I would say 40k, but the reality is, I've got no fucking clue. I live in France. Yet there are some stores that do this, right? There are some stores where their customer base won't stop talking about a certain thing, right? They just love a certain thing. Like, oh, this is brilliant. We love these models. This is awesome. But then they're not stocked. So you look at the shelf and you're like, are you sure this is the hobby that everybody's playing in this store? Because there's no models on the shelves, right? What's going on? I've been in stores like that. It's very weird. It's very uncanny valley. Yeah. Luckily, my local store isn't like that. I cannot wait for you all to see Just Play. I'm heading in next week to pay for the space. They reserved it for us. And it's all done and dusted, right? You know, nobody else is going to get it. I've already been talking to the manager about it. But I'm going to go in and pay for it next week. And I swear to God, I can't wait for you to see it. It's an awesome space. It really is. But on the flip side of that, people keep saying to me, what do I need to pay to do Exile Fest? Dude, nothing. It's free. It's my gift to you, right? I'm paying for the space out of my own pocket because I want the first... a lot of you are coming in and getting hotels and shit. So my gesture of goodwill is I'll pay for the space and I'll pay for the prizes. Right? That's what we're doing. Anyway. Blonde Guyification says, I guess I'm lucky. It's more of a problem with the owners of the store than the players. I'd say maybe we Warhammer players are the most problematic. Okay, right. We've tried making the club bigger, and the owner of the store was giving a lot of pushback. I don't know much, but I know we were annoying enough. We don't run tournaments at the store anymore. I can get into info later for a nightmare if interested. Dude, write it in. Write it in. You should have done it there, but write it in and I'll read it out, definitely. Skeletal Commissar. Hey, Skeletal, you've been on a few live streams I've seen. He says, I wasn't the worst customer at the store, but I pissed off my friends every time I brought my 240 Guardsman army in late 8th edition. That sounds like a Guardsman. Worm Slayer says, personally for me, Magic the Gathering. Don't get me wrong, every game system has its bad eggs, of course, but in the store I go to, it's the Magic the Gathering players that are way beyond entitled. They get 3 days out of the week compared to the 1 or 2 compared to other game systems, and when they don't get the exact format or prizes they want, they complain like entitled children, Not to mention, on days not for their desired hobby, feel the need to take up all the tables on other days that are for other games, be it war games or other tabletop game systems or the role-playing games. When they are told to move because game systems on other days are given priority if it's an event, they once again kick and scream about how much money they spend in the store. Dude, this is something that I'll never ever do this. If you're a customer, never ever say, I spend this much money in the store, so I should get this. There are times, don't get me wrong, where you're treated unfairly, right? And you do a lot for that store in putting money behind the till. Maybe then say something like, hey, please don't talk to me that way. I put a lot of money behind the store because I believe in it, but please don't talk to me that way. That's the time to say shit like this. But if it's an advertised day for something else and you feel the need to bitch and moan, you're a dickhead. There's a place, right? Again, I'm gonna put it on screen, okay? Once again, I know I'm plugging this a lot, but see that thing at the bottom there, the K1 Metal Club, right? It's a really cool place. It's the only place in Liverpool where they play really cool metal music, right? And on Friday nights, they do a pop punk night, right? So every night is metal night apart from Friday, which is pop punk night. So your Blink-182, stuff like that, right? The K1 Metal Club's reviews have been tanked because so many metalheads will go in on Friday night and whinge saying the DJ won't put on, Metallica or Disturbed because it's pop punk night, right? And they tanked the reviews for the place because they won't put it on. You're a dickhead. If you're the kind of person who goes into a place with a big poster outside saying pop punk night, all welcome, and you go in and you kick up a stink because your music isn't being played when it's not meant to be played that night, and they'd be doing you a huge favour if they played it, you're a dickhead. That's all I've got to say. You're a bit of a dickhead. The same thing as this. Go and look on Google, guys. Look on Google, K1 Metal Club, Liverpool, and you'll see the reviews I mean. They're all there. I went in on Friday night and they wouldn't play my death metal music. They wouldn't play Dead Fetus. Why won't they play Dead Fetus? Because it's not death metal night. It's punk rock night. Pop punk, right? It's for the ladies. Enjoy it and have a look at the hot emo chicks walking around. That's what it's for. Saturday night, all for it, man. Saturday night is all metal. I've been there. It is metal up the wazoo. You can't walk for it, right? But Friday night is the night for the pop punkers, the emo chicks. It's their night of the week. You get every other night of the week. Okay? Shut up. I hate this. I hate this phenomenon, okay? Well, why can't we play Magic the Gathering? Because it's 40k day. It says it right there on the poster as you come into the store, and you know what day it is. You know today's 40k day, and you know you're causing a problem. Alright? You know by sitting there doing a Magic the Gathering game, you're causing a problem for me getting paid minimum wage to deal with your fucking attitude. Get out. You're a dickhead. If you do this kind of thing, you're a dickhead. You're the worst. Absolute worst. Can't stand it, man. Communication should be there as well. I've seen a few things in the K1 Metal Club where people have said, oh, yeah, but the DJ was just rude to us and wouldn't tell us why we couldn't have our music on. Yeah, that's a dickhead thing to do. That's a complaint I can get along with. But just saying that, he wouldn't put our music on isn't a complaint when it's not your night. Same thing as this. If the staffer says to them, listen, guys, it's the 40k day, so they get priority, which you did say, Wormsley. You said that they've said that to them, right? Well, if they've given them that explanation, then your discussion over. Pack up your shit and go somewhere else. Be polite about it too. Right? Because it's not your day. This is what it is. The entitlement of some people just irks me. It really irks me. Entitlement is the worst. I hate it. Absolutely hate it. Alright. Lack of hygiene is another thing. I used to play Magic as a young teen before stopping because it became too expensive with rotating sets and standard play. But playing it for all of the last few years, Magic players are more often than most the most grim people I've met, from green teeth to visible stink lines. I've seen it all. All hobbies have their gross people, but Magic the Gathering, I saw it far more often than others. Okay, cool. Okay. Half random, whatever that says, worst customers, any Christian bookstore. If they're slightly inconvenienced, the biggest haters you've ever seen are shown. I don't know what you mean, man. I think you're tripping balls. Have we had any more since I've started recording? I'll read them out if I have. Let's have a little look-see. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think we've had any more. So I think we can leave it there. But a very, very, very interesting set of comments there. Thank you very much for all of you who wrote in. I will be back tomorrow with some more hobby nightmares. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And if you want another sequel to this video, put it in the comment section down below, right? And tell me you finished the video. Tell me you finished the video. And if you want to see a sequel to this, I'll do another one next week. We'll do a sequel, all right? I love you a long time. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'll speak to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye now.